now that it has 1,000 rounds on this Gray Guns trigger, I wanted to sing its praises and endorse it. So for the V3 series pistols, both the safety and non-safety variants, they both take a different kit. The performance enhancements are astounding. And without changing any springs, save the light firing pin block spring, if you did change that, the pistol as a whole has really benefited from this kit. It's not any major gunsmithing, it's not any sort of crazy modifications. The worst part of the install is you have to knock a pin out of the sear and replace it with a longer pin, which is funny because the length of the longer pin is almost negligible when compared to the previous pin. It is important. I didn't really have any issues, but I decided to go back and put that new pin in there just to make sure I'm giving the kit a full shake. And honestly, if you are installing this kit, well, the only recommendation I have is to install the full kit. The piece that you can skip that I would recommend skipping if you are worried about it is the light firing pin block spring. I'm not one of those guys that really feels the difference between the light and the standard firing pin block spring. I've tried changing it before, and honestly, I'd rather have the heavier firing pin block spring in there for reliability than have a light one in there. I haven't had any reliability issues with the light firing pin block spring, but I'm also not really seeing the need for it at the same time. So, you know, make your decisions there. My follow-up shots are much faster and much cleaner. This gun stays really flat when shooting now that I don't have to worry about my trigger inputs as much. It took a gun that I already had a lot of rounds through and a lot of experience with that took time to smooth out and made it better, which I think is the best way to do it. Learning a gun before you modify it is important in certain instances. I will say, you know, for a Glock, you have to change the sights. But as far as an HK, so long as it has these MEPR lights on it from the factory, you don't really have to change anything. You can just run it as is, and a 2,000 round trigger job goes a long way. I know that's about $400, you know, if you just run basic ball ammunition through it. And I will say this series of handgun really needs to run 124 grain for the first, I'm gonna say 500 rounds. I know you can get away with less, and people have, and I have, honestly, but and it was more by mistake than anything. I put those 147s from the range in there instead of well, I had loaded different mags for different things, and I just slid it in there on accident and, you know, ran it. But the 124 grain ammunition is very important for the P30 series in general, but the P30L especially because of how robust the buffer system is. But all that being said, the Gray Guns drop-in trigger kit is an amazing upgrade for this, and it does so at a $100 price point, which for some would push the envelope, and some it's not really breaking the bank based on what kind of triggers you're buying in the first place. I will say that the parts you get in the kit for the money that you spend don't really inspire confidence, but once you have the trigger kit in there, it's a lot like an SRT kit. You're like, I just paid $50 for 2 pieces of metal. And in this kit, you're paying $100 for 3 pieces. So one's a spring. It can cause a confidence issue for sure, but once you have the kit in there and you're running it and you're getting the hits and you're feeling the reset completely change and the gun becomes more responsive, it's a good thing. When I first bought the handgun, it was very stiff, and I had a lot of issues with confidence in the reset, and it would cause me to shake the handgun in my hand. After 2,000 rounds, when things smoothed out, but the reset stayed the same, I'd have some double clutch issues, but after I got through that, I was sitting at it was about 2,000 rounds when that happened. Pushing into the 3,000 round and beyond, I really got to know the handgun. I was really confident with it, and so long as I started the day with it, or did a couple weapons FAM magazines at the range when changing to it from another handgun with a better trigger, then it would, you know, come back to me and I'd be able to run it just fine. But now I don't have to have any extra effort, and I can pick this gun up, run it properly, and do a lot of good, confident work with it. So I really believe that the V3 series handguns with the Gray Guns drop-in trigger kit is a win. It's definitely a go. And if you have a standard or a safety model, understand that those kits are different, so make sure you look really hard before you buy one. If you have one of those setups, highly recommend this modification. You don't send your gun anywhere, which is something I'm a huge fan of. If you're not confident enough to do this yourself, you bring it to your local gun shop that has a competent gunsmith, they drop it in, no harm, no foul, you pay them labor. Whereas if you're getting a full Gray Guns trigger kit, you're sending the whole pistol away, it's gonna be gone for a while, you don't know when you're gonna get it back or anything like that. The results are better and smoother, don't get me wrong, I'm not taking shots at the guy, but as far as the reward factor and what you get for your money, you end up with, in my opinion, is a much better product. You can take the $300 time lost and all that other stuff, funnel that into magazines, holsters, and ammo, or if you already have it, then it's just all ammunition and range fees, and go to town. You can really master this pistol, I think, with this trigger group. Would I have preferred HK done this in the first place? Absolutely. And do I think that you should buy one of these from the get-go and then put the trigger group in before shooting it? I don't know. I would recommend going the route I did to really appreciate what this trigger kit does for you, but that's not necessarily required because you can still master the gun with the kit. I will say if you drop it in without having that healthy appreciation for what it was before, you might have the issue of not really appreciating what it is now. So you don't have to do what I did, but you'll gain information and experience from what I did. Additionally, if you don't run a bunch of rounds through your gun and then drop the trigger kit in there, you're still gonna have the stiff spring issue. You're still gonna have to shoot it a whole lot, and it's still gonna take a while for it to get nice and smooth the way this one is, which is something I'm experiencing now with my P30L V1. Even though I put the kit in it when it only had about 350 rounds in it, I didn't really feel the difference, whereas on this I did. And it's noticeably shorter. Like there's no disputing that it's noticeably shorter, but I don't feel like it is. And the springs are still really stiff. So overall, highly recommend this kit, and it does incredible things for your shooting if you've already dedicated yourself to this platform. And I will tell you straight up, this was one of the first 9mm platforms that I started to shift into, and had it been this good out of the gate, I wouldn't have any other 9mm handguns. This is light, recoil is excellent, I can keep it super flat, and it's just a blast to shoot. Whereas, you know, other guns are great, don't get me wrong. There are some absolutely beautiful guns in my inventory, and they are wonderful 9mm handguns, but I would have a lot more rifles and a lot more Gucci gear had I not bought all these damn handguns. Just food for thought. If you own a P30 V3, a P30 or a P30L, or even an SK V3, and you want to make the trigger better, 100% stamp of approval on the Gray Guns drop-in trigger kit. It caused the round count on this to go through the roof. I'm always bringing it to the range now. It's always in my bag, and I'm always looking for an excuse to shoot this thing. And it is a phenomenal pistol now. It is definitely Wonder 9 status. Actually realize now that there's a better trigger in it without doing all sorts of custom polishing and sending it away and all this other stuff, or taking it apart myself, polishing the internals and screwing with it till it gets about where I want it. This is a reliable setup. You don't compromise your reliability. It's still able to be employed for a serious use pistol, i.e., you know, end of the world scenario, concealed carry, you know, zombies, LARPing, all the important things you want to do. You can set this gun up and expect to do serious things, where if you have a gun that has custom pistol work that you had to send away for, you're kind of on the edge, like, I don't know if I can still throw this thing in the mud. I don't know if I want to because I already spent this much money on it, blah, blah, blah. So it still maintains its HK tank status while having a really, really sweet trigger. Thanks for watching. Take care of each other, stay safe, and support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.